because you've gotten really involved in some big pop culture conversations. Did you anticipate that as a part of your role when you started the first Drafthouse?
I think I just can't shut up.
It's a big year, 20 years in, 29 theaters, 6 in Austin, this being the latest greatest here at Drafthouse Mueller. A lot has changed. What would you say is one thing that is still the same after all these years?
Really, I got into the business without any qualifications. My wife and I just kind of leapt into the business, and the only thing we had going for us was that we really love movies, and we try to keep that forward. So we're still loving what we're doing. Alamo was our second theater.
Yeah.
Like, we opened a theater in California, and it was a miserable miserable failure.
Yes.
We were living in the theater. We had to sell all of our stuff and get out of our leases and live behind the screen for 18 months.
Wow.
It was depressing,
Yeah.
and even after all that, it failed. So we came here to start again.
I have to tell you, we were all really spoiled as kids from Austin because we didn't know there was any other way to see a movie. You just really revolutionized the movie-going experience. Where was the food and the drink and the experience concept, where was that all born?
What we did before we opened up is we thought about what we liked about going to the movies and what we didn't like.
Yeah.
And there were certain things that we didn't like that we tried to improve upon. And one of them was the concessions offerings. And for better or for worse, I love beer and wanted to introduce that into the Drafthouse aesthetic.
I think we all thank you for that. The logistical side of things, in the theater, it is, very purposefully kind of lo-fi, right? Like, you write down pen and paper, stick it up like a flag. How did you make sure to keep that the way that it was done, especially in this digital evolving age?
I love technology, but ultimately the lo-fi method is the least distracting.
Yeah.
And that's the most important to us.
Yeah.
So.
And also, it's kind of fun.
It's
working.
working. I don't have any plans on eliminating the little pieces of paper anytime soon.
Good, that's good to hear. And what about just the way it feels, kind of like these magic fairies come in and bring you this delicious food and drink, and then they leave at the exact right time? How do you sync up the delivery and all of that?
Over the years, we've understood that what we do is kind of specific. People may have food service experience, but we're training people to understand how to be as ninja-like as possible inside the theater.
That's what it feels like.
We've really appreciated this app that's out there called Run P.
Okay.
So when a new movie comes out, we'll look it up on Run P, and it gives you the exact time that nothing's going on in the movie that's critical to the plot or the action, where you can go take a pee break. And so that's a good time for us to also deliver the checks.
Obviously, everybody loves the movie, but sometimes what makes it so fun is like the previews beforehand and the PSAs. When did the PSA idea get implemented, and what's one of your favorites?
Well, the Don't Talk PSAs came pretty early. I think it was about a month and a half into operation. There was a screening of Blue Velvet, and we had a very cheap Pabst Blue Ribbon special, and maybe people were, drinking one too many Pabst Blue Ribbons and getting rowdy and rambunctious. And I went into the theater, and I just saw the audience get out of control, and it made me sick. Quit talking to my theater! Yeah. And so the very next day, I bought a copy of Final Cut Pro 1.0, learned how to use it, and then cut together the first Don't Talk PSA. And I think my favorite of those has to be the Ann Richards one. So in her retirement years, she was a huge movie fan. She would come to the Alamo probably once a week.
Really?
And she called me into the theater one day, and she put on this really angry face. And she's like, "I'm upset with you because you have not asked me to do a Don't Talk PSA." And I was like, "We're gonna do this tomorrow." Like this. And so we shot it, and then what she liked to do is, if she was coming to see a movie and she liked for that PSA to play, and then she would wait in the hallway, and after it played, she would just go sit right next to somebody, no matter how many people are in the theater, and just kind of mess with that person.
That is hysterical.
Because she was the most awesome human being ever.
Yes. So one thing that has always stood out to me is the really robust programming. It's not just sing a movie. There are sing-alongs and quote-alongs and Master Pancake. How does that evolve over time? What does the team look like to collaborate with those ideas?
Well, I mean, the team actually includes our customers. I think it's just a matter of knowing that you don't know everything yourself and keeping your receptors open.
Yeah, I think that's such great advice. And that lifetime feedback is nice, right? Like in a social media
Oh,
era.
it's nice and it's awful.
I was about to say, as soon as I said that, I was like, that's a mixed bag, actually.
We've done 4 editions of this. It's a mystery Nicolas Cage marathon where it's all day long, 4 or 5 different movies. People don't know what they are, and we just revel in the glory that is Nicolas Cage.
Hello, I'm Nicolas Cage.
And we've been trying to bring him since the first one, and he finally agreed, but we kept it secret from the audience. Then in storms Nicolas Cage, and we didn't know this was going to happen. Right off the bat, he did a complete recital of Telltale Heart, the Edgar Allan Poe. Very long story. It's like this is a 9-minute
And that was
rendition.
not planned. You didn't
No,
know that
I
was
had
going
no
to happen.
idea, but it was amazing.
Yeah. What would you say has been really unexpected?
Growth, for one. I mean, we opened up the first theater in 1997, and that was our master plan. We're going to open up this single-screen theater, and maybe we'll retire from it. At first, I was resistant to the idea of expanding. Once we started to do it, we can make a difference to help support independent films on a bigger level, and that's really satisfying. That's where I'd spent a lot of my time. Fantastic Fest has been my baby for a while. We're into our, I believe, 12th year this year.
Wow.
And so it's a celebration of genre films, so horror, science fiction, fantasy, and weird movies from all over the globe.
Yeah.
Lots of celebrities coming through, and we try to have 5 movies every day and then end with a crazy party each night. And it's a grueling 8 days, but it's my favorite 8 days of the year.
And is there any party that is not crazy enough that you can tell us about on television?
Sure. The one that's makes people scratch their heads sometimes that we're able to do this is called the Fantastic Debates. So we have people that engage in sort of high school type of debate where it's an issue that's facing the film industry, and it's directors and it's stars, and they go head to head, very serious debate. But at the end of the debate, they pull out the podiums, and the debaters are wearing boxing gloves and headgear, and so you end with 2 rounds of actual fisticuffs.
Buckle up.
It's amazing.
I know you said that this grandiose wasn't necessarily part of the plan.
Yeah.
But now that you can look in hindsight, what advice might you give someone starting a new creative endeavor?
I left a career where I didn't want to retire from it. I was an engineer out of school, and a lot of people can be happy. I wasn't happy. And so I tried to think of something that was going to make me happy.
Yeah.
And I love movies, and I still love this job. So, I mean, trying to find something that makes you happy is good. And your
Follow
kids
that.
should be nice people.
And also just be kind.
Yeah.
Tim, cheers to you. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Happy 20th anniversary.
Thank you.
Thank you.